every time curiosity is absent, people are protecting, and they only protect because they're afraid. Hi everybody, it's Steve Halley here with the Family Peace Initiative, and here it is, August 2025, and the heat has broke here in Kansas. It is a beautiful 70-some degree day, and here I am out on a park bench in front of the office enjoying a moment of fresh air. Feels good. Today I want to talk with you about defense systems that we commonly see when people first come to the program, ways that they kind of protect themselves, because we know, that people when they come are afraid, and when people are afraid, then they use defense systems to protect themselves. It's not, isolated to just those who abuse in relationships. We all do this, right? When we feel afraid, when we feel a risk to vulnerability, we will use defense systems to protect ourselves from danger. Right? So just a couple of the typical ones that we might see that I'll give you a little bit of an anecdote of how to kind of navigate, if you're lucky, how to navigate around these defense systems. When somebody comes to our program and they're just saying, I don't know why I'm here, I've never been violent or abusive, my partner who's to blame for why I'm here, they arrest a man in the state instead of just a woman, the kind of things that we hear from time to time. Right? Sometimes we can get kind of locked into trying to convince them that, oh no, they're appropriate, I've read the police report and I know what you've done, kind of thing. And I don't find that to be very helpful in the long run. But one strategy that seems to work better than most that I have tried has been to just simply inquire, would you be open to considering the possibility that there's something here for you? Because I've had a lot of people come to our program who have said, I don't belong here, I don't know why I'm here, But then as they wade through the program, they discover things that they hadn't thought about before, that they haven't considered. And if you're able to just keep an open mind and consider the possibility that there's something here for you, you might be surprised. And most of the time, people are not willing to say, no, I have a closed mind, I'm not open to thinking about anything other than what I already think. They don't respond that way. They would just say, yeah, I can keep an open mind. And then it's just like, great, thanks, let's just see. And if you discover things that are helpful for you, please let me know, because I would love to hear how your journey is inside of this approach. The second thing that comes up, and often in our groups, is that people will protect themselves with the great line of, I don't know. I don't know what I did. I don't know what the police report says. I don't know how I'm feeling. I don't know who was cruel to me long before I was cruel to anyone. Those kind of vulnerable questions that people don't want to really have to think about. One of the easiest ways to protect it is to go, I don't know. And then it stymies the facilitators. Either we have to go, well, let me tell you, I'll read you the police report, or let me tell you what the victim said, or let me try to show you, all those things. When we get into these situations where we're trying to talk people in or out or convince things, that's just our work, right? That's not transformational change. But when someone says they don't know, one of my favorite questions is, well, if you did know how you were feeling, what do you think it would be? Mad, sad, glad, or afraid? If you did know what it was like for your partner when you were being cruel to her, what do you think it would have been like? What do you think she would have said? If you did know what the police report says, if you did know who was cruel to you long before you were ever cruel, who do you think it might have been? Right? And the first time I heard somebody use this line of questioning, I thought it was nuts. It doesn't make any sense. And I just thought that's a pointless question. But the person who was being asked it just went right past the defense system of I don't know. So, well, I'm not really sure, but it might have been my dad. Well, I'm not really sure, but I might feel sad or afraid. I'm not really sure, but I think she would have been, terrified and afraid and, humiliated and degraded. And thanks. It doesn't surprise me about that. So simply being able to hear them say, I don't know, That's almost never true, right? But people can always imagine, well, if you did know what it was, what do you think it would be, right? And, in our program, we also place a premium on helping people identify and connect with their basic core emotions: mad, sad, glad, and afraid. And it's very easy for people to talk about being mad, very hard for people to talk about being afraid and sad. And so that's one of the pieces of evidence of emotional restricted expression. And so when we ask people, and we talk about feelings coming in groups, that people, when they feel mad, there's other feelings that come, and sad and afraid are good choices for that. And what would that be, right? But when people say, oh, I don't know what I am feeling, or I don't know what I was feeling, that you can kind of say, one, if you did know, what do you think you were feeling? But the other way you might approach this is, gosh, that's kind of weird. Do you remember who took your ability to recognize your feelings away from you? Because we're all born with the ability to express ourselves emotionally. Everybody had it, right? It's very hard for us to survive without mad, sad, glad, and afraid. And so when someone says, I don't know what I was feeling, that's weird. That's evidence that they disconnected from that at some point in their lives. And so we just ask, great, so before you lost your feeling, your ability to notice and express mad, sad, glad, and afraid, who took that ability away from you? Because that's strange. You remember how old you were or what was happening when someone took your freedom to express yourself emotionally away from you? And then they're into their cruelty stories, right? They're into, oh yeah, my dad abandoned us when I was 4 and I cried, and my mom told me to stop crying because I was now the man in the house. And so at age 4, I stopped being sad. And that's just a product of a cruel event. And part of the healthy recovery is learning how to access those feelings again. So give those a try, and let me know how they work. If you did know, right? What do you think that would be mostly about, right? If you're not able to identify a feeling, who was it that took that away from you? And are you open to considering? Because what you're trying to do is to build curiosity in your group. And every time curiosity is absent, people are protecting, and they only protect because they're afraid. And if we can recognize that, we might be able to explore that fear to maybe help us decide whether it's even necessary to protect or not in this particular situation. And like I said, this is not exclusive to those who batter. We all get protective when we're afraid, and we move away from curiosity. Thanks, you guys. See you again in September. I hope the weather is as beautiful for you as it is for me right now. Best to you guys.